In today's video, we are going to be looking at multiplying fractions. Now, there are 3 steps that you need to know in order to help you multiply fractions. Step number 1 is to multiply the numerator. Step number 2 is to multiply the denominator. And step number 3 is to simplify your fraction. First, we need to look into our numerators and our denominators. Now, numerators are the digit that sits on top of our line and represents part of the whole. The denominator is the digit that sits underneath the line and that represents our whole. So looking at these fractions, our numerator for this fraction is 1 and our denominator is 2. And our numerator in this fraction is 2 and our denominator is 3. So we are going to be multiplying both of these fractions together. Step number 1 asks us to multiply our numerator. That means we need to multiply 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Step number 1 is done, so now we need to move on to step number 2, which is to multiply our denominator. We need to do 2 times 3, which equals 6. Now step number 3 asks us to simplify our fraction, so we need to simplify 2, 6. Now I can see that 2 goes into both 2 and 6, so I can divide my numerator by 2 and my denominator by 2, and the answer that will give me is 1 over 3. So therefore, a half times 2/3 is 1/3. This time our question is half times 2/5. So step number 1 is to multiply a numerator, which is 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Step number 2 is to multiply our denominators. 2 times 5 equals 10. And step number 3 is to simplify our answer. Now, just by looking at 2 and 10, I can see that 2 goes into both of these numbers. So I can divide my numerator by 2 and divide my denominator by 2. And that will give me 1 over 5. I can't simplify that any further, which tells me that a half times 2/5 is 1/5. Let's have a look at another question. Okay, next we're going to take a look at these 2 questions. I've got 3/4 times 4/5 and 1/3 times 9/10. So let's start with step 1, which is to multiply my numerator. So I'm going to multiply 3 by 4, which is 12. And then I'm going to multiply my denominator, which is step 2. So 4 times 5, which is 20. And then step number 3 is to simplify my answer. So just by looking at 12 and 20, I can see that 4 goes into 12 and it goes into 20. So I'm going to multiply my numerator by 4 and my denominator by 4. Whatever I do to my top, I must also do to my bottom. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. And 20 divided by 4 is 5. So 3/4 times 4/5 equals 3/5. Let's look at my next one. So I've got 1/3 times 9/10. So again, step 1 is to multiply my numerator. So I need to do 1 times 9, which is 9. And step number 2 is to multiply my denominator, which is 3 times 10. 3 times 10 equals 30. Step number 3 is to simplify 9 over 30. By looking at 9 and 30, I can see that 3 goes into 9 and 3 goes into 30. So I'm going to divide my numerator by 3 and divide my denominator by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 30 divided by 3 is 10. I can't simplify 3/10 any further. So that tells me that 1/3 times 9/10 equals 3/10. Right, let's look at just 2 more and hopefully you'll get the hang of it. Right, so I've got 2 new questions. Let's look at our first one, which is 2 over 7 multiplied by 7 over 9. So I need to once again start with step 1, which is multiply my numerator. So 2 times 7, which is 14. Step number 2 is to multiply my denominator, which is 7 times 9, and 7 times 9 equals 63. So step 2 is done. Now I need to do step number 3. Step number 3 is to simplify my fraction. So I need to find the simplified fraction of 14 divided by 63. By looking at 14 and 63, I know that they're both divisible by 7. So 14 divided by 7. And I must do the same to the bottom. So 63 divided by 7 as well. 14 divided by 7 is 2. And 63 divided by 7 is a 9. 14 over 63 can be simplified into 2 over 9. Okay, last question. So I've got 4 over 5 multiplied by 5 over 11. So I need to start by doing my numerator, multiplying my numerator. So 4 times 5 is 20. and 5 times 11 is 55. So step number 3 is to find out my simplified fraction. So I need to look at what goes into 20 and goes into 55. I can tell that they're both divisible by 5. So I need to divide my numerator by 5 and my denominator by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And 55 divided by 5 is 11. I can't simplify 4 11ths, so that tells me that 4 over 5 multiplied by 5 over 11 is 4 over 11. Right, hopefully that has helped you understand how to multiply fractions. Remember, there are 3 steps to multiplying fractions. Number 1, multiply your numerator. Number 2, multiply your denominator. And number 3 is to simplify. And just remember, whenever you simplify, whatever you divide your numerator by, you must also divide your denominator by. If you get to step 3 and you are about to simplify your fraction, but you notice that your fraction doesn't have a simplest form, then you don't have to perform step number 3. In that case, then you would only perform 1 and 2. Right, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. I really hope you enjoyed that video and it's helped you learn how to multiply fractions. If you want to have a go at multiplying fractions, please click down into the link description box below and you'll be able to find a free worksheet created by me where you can have a go at multiplying fractions.